So we've got a situation here with our weight equipment. This is the standards that hold up the bar for bench pressing. This part here sticks up too high, so you have to lift it up too much before you can actually get under the weight. So we're just going to saw that off. We want this leg to be about 7/8 of an inch or so. We've got this hacksaw here. I used this one quite a bit actually. This smaller one is very handy too, it's cordless, but of course the throat size is too small for what we're doing here. You know, I need a pair of safety glasses to stop those safety glasses police.
Oh, those guys who always comment. Great video, but please put on some safety glasses.
Right, so I guess I better do that. So, Robert will clean that up with a file. That should do the trick, right? Well, isn't this interesting? We're on a walk. This is a trail down to a lake not too far from our place, and this oak leaf apparently fell off a tree, landed stem down, and in the breeze it's been kind of a natural compass in a sense, marking out this circle as the wind whips it around. So I want to give you a little tour of my chop saw I want to give you a little tour of my chop saw setup. This is something that I've put together on my own, and it does a lot in a small space. This is one of my favorite chop saws right now. This particular model doesn't have any rails on the back. Most big chop saws have rails that stick way out. I just didn't have room for that. This articulated arm doesn't take up any room. As with any chop saw, it gives off a lot of dust. I took a stationary power tool that I hadn't been using very much for its intended purpose. This sand table here, it's got a fan inside. It draws air through what used to be a metal covering with holes in it. If you wanted to do some sanding, put it on here, you turn it on, and then you do your hand sanding. I wasn't really using that a lot, so I thought, well, maybe I could turn it into a nice clean chop saw station. I took away the metal tabletop here and I replaced it with plywood so that I could concentrate all the suction holes at the back. When this thing turns on, a lot of air moves through these holes. No matter where I have the saw adjusted, there are holes there that can suck up the dust. The sanding table starts up automatically when the saw starts up. For storage, on each side I've built in these metal cabinets, as well as this top drawer here, which serves as an outfeed table. This arrangement here is all on the same plane.
You have quite a wide bed here to work with.
Pretty wide. Sand planes are kept in here. Some power tools, sandpaper. I've shown you this drawer down here with the batteries in it before.
What about this piece of wood here with the ruler on it?
Craig, people that invented pocket joinery, they have a bunch of other accessories, including this fence arrangement, which continues on both sides, and they've got this adjustable stop device, which is really great. You flip it out of the way when you don't need it, you put it down, and then you can make repetitive cuts to exactly the same length. This, of course, only works down to a length of this, and I can't get any closer. When I want to get closer, I'll just put a block on here and clamp it, and that becomes my stop block. You could hear how the sanding table kicked in automatically. I didn't have to switch it on or anything. It's set up to keep running for a few seconds afterwards just to make sure all the dust is cleared. It's a system that works quite well. This whole arrangement is on a rolling platform. I bought the metal hardware, cut the hardwood 2x2s to fit between them. The whole thing can be lifted up on wheels and rolled around. Over here, where I keep my squares, rare earth magnet does a great job keeping them fixed to the side of the cabinet. Last week, I got a shipment of something I'd never seen before. It's a smoke alarm where you don't have to replace the batteries. Not for 10 years. This is something that's got a built-in battery. You don't need to change it. It's supposed to last for 10 years. It's got an end-of-life warning. When I'm 65, it'll start chirping, apparently. It's smaller than a regular smoke alarm, too. They say it's half the size. It seems like a great idea. I'll be installing this and living with this for a while and telling you about how it works. Check back in 10 years.
Maybe by then they'll come out with a model that shuts off when you yell, "I'm just cooking."
I've had this helmet ever since I first started horseback riding about 5 years ago, and I kind of wanted to have the opportunity to make it look a little bit fancier, a little bit nicer for certain occasions. So I made this leather helmet cover. It basically just sits on top like that. I took a piece of leather and kind of made it approximately the right shape. So like I did this half and then that half. I soaked it in warm water and then lay it over the helmet where it would sit, and then wrapped it in like plastic wrap to keep it down on the helmet, allowed it to dry like that, and then the leather conforms to the shape. I had to punch every one of these holes, and then I used this little tool here to sew the thick thread through each of the seams.
A few of you have asked about this outdoor wood boiler. Some of you know how these work. I think most of you probably don't. It's quite a rural approach to heating homes and workshops. This is the boiler. Surrounding the firebox is a 100-gallon reservoir of water that is heated and circulated to the house and workshop through underground insulated pipes. It lets me heat the whole house and the workshop and all our domestic hot water remotely. I could probably fill it once a day. I usually come out 2 or 3 times a day. I think it burns a little more efficiently if I don't jam it full of wood. The hot gases leave the firebox at the back. Up here, we have what's called the heat exchanger. The gases enter the heat exchanger at the back over here, then they round the bend, there's a wall in the middle, and then they head out that way, which is where the chimney is. I want to show you an amazing little bit here that can drill and tap in steel in one go. It's very simple to use. I'm only aware of these ones made by DeWalt. The end is shaped like a drill bit, and then there's threads here. There's curved flutes which allow shards of metal a place to go when the threads are being cut in the steel. Whenever you're drilling into steel or any kind of metal, you really should start with a bit of a dimple. This is a spring-loaded center punch. Put the tip where you want it, and you just push it down multiple times, and it makes a little center punch mark there. It's also really important to use actual cutting oil. Nothing much to it. You just put this in and squeeze the trigger with some pressure. Now I'm only part way through, but I'm going to put a little more oil in there. Okay, now you hear how things have changed there? So I'm through the metal, and now I'm cutting the threads. Now I'm reversing my way out. And there you go. It's as easy as that. Beautiful full, nicely cut threads. And this bolt just goes right in. This is not thin steel, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick. Had no trouble going through, even though I wasn't using a drill press for the operation. So these are the shavings created by the bit, and they tell you 2 things. First of all, the bit's quite sharp to create spirals of mild steel like that, but the cutting oil helps the bit to produce this kind of result and to last longer while it does. My son Joseph is in Tennessee on an athletic scholarship. He throws shot put and discus, and he wants to keep his practice up even though it's winter time. But we need to clear off some of the ice and snow here from the shot put circle. So we've got this heat flamer. We're going to give that a try to loosen some of it off. Well, thanks for watching. Come back next week for a fresh episode. Subscribe, like, hit the notifications bell so you know when new videos come out. And be sure to check out my much-loved free email newsletter. You can learn all about it in the comments section.